This is hair and makeup, buddy.
Hair and makeup and quarantine. All right, guys, welcome back to Adventure Talk. I'm your host, Jason Specht. Adventure Talk is presented by OK4WD, Midland, USA, and Bill Stein. John, how you doing up there in Boston?
A little bummed today because it was raining, which is always a sad day when you're locked down with 3 kids at home. But we're doing good. We're just, taking a day at a time and just trying to stay focused on making the next day show up and with a, positive vibe.
We got somebody new here, Mac. Mac, how are you doing?
I'm good. I wish I had something witty to say about Mac, but new computer, new name, I guess. I'm good. I managed to get out for a bike ride this morning before the rain happened, and outside of that, it's been a lot of sitting around. I actually, you know what? I cooked a pound of bacon today, and I was going to throw it in the fridge, like half the bacon I was going to put in the fridge, or 3/4 of it, whatever. It didn't make it to the fridge. I ate a pound of bacon to my face today. I am a...
That is the most American thing I think I've ever heard.
Cheers.
Yeah, what you drinking there, Ben? What do you got here tonight?
Coors Light. The old standby.
Rockies. And Gabby's back and joining us from Texas. And we missed you for a couple weeks here, Gabby, but I know you're busy. So what's Texas like for you here lately?
Still the same, man. The heat's pumping up. It's humid. It feels like you're walking through a bowl of soup every day. But aside from that, it's fantastic. They were supposed to open up the state last Friday, but I don't think that's going to happen. So just working from home and trying to keep my sanity. And
so I understand you were preparing a drink, but it didn't really work out too well here.
Yeah, I had a little mishap with my drink. I had good intentions of making a drink, and then it went face first on the floor. So I made another one, drinking a Captain and Coke. Just keep it light and hanging out.
But we've got Ren and Jim Ostijk from OK4WD. Guys, how you doing?
Good, man. How about you?
We're good.
Ren, what do you got to drink there tonight?
Some Lawson's.
Some Lawson's. Jim's got one too there, or what? But give us a little insight before we get started. What's life like for you guys up there in New Jersey?
We're faring really well where we are. When you hear the news, New Jersey's doing really bad, but the little corner of New Jersey we're in is doing quite well, considering the cases and the deaths. So we're blessed that our business is open. We aren't open to the public. They have to drop their cars off, but we could still work on them. And we're still shipping stuff out, receiving orders. So it's been working out quite well for us.
Let's go ahead and get started and talk a little bit about how OK4WD got started, Jim. Where did it start? How did you get into it? Like, just kind of dive right in and we'll take it from there.
Got out of high school and rented a little 2-bay garage, and just started working on vehicles mainly. 4-wheel drives were at the top of my list. Muscle cars were at that time. But I kept getting speeding tickets, and I had to get rid of my car because I ran out of cash for my business. So I had a 66 Mustang convertible, V8 motor, nice little car. Had to sell it to keep the business going, and I bought an old 64 CJ5 with a 4-cylinder. So I couldn't speed, and as soon as I got that thing, I rolled it over, and then I had to rebuild it. And as I was rebuilding it, people were coming into the garage and saying, "I have an old Jeep, can you work on it?" And then a good friend of mine, was the K and the OK, he wanted to help me work on 4-wheel drives. He got rid of his muscle car, bought a Jeep, and we just started working on different 4-wheel drives at the time. And we saw an opportunity there, and it just took off from that point.
Yeah, I guess I mean I just learned that as long as I've known you guys too. I thought the O and the K were for the first initial and last initial of your last name.
It kind of was. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
In high school, that people couldn't pronounce my name, and it started with an O, ended with a K, and they called me OK. So that was part of it as well. And then his last name was a K, so when we were always hanging out, they always called him and I OK. So it was just part of life.
So it started in a gas station type garage, and to what it is now. I mean, just to give people kind of an idea that may be listening to this on podcast, where is OK Four Wheel Drive located, and maybe Ren talk a little bit about the showroom and how many bays you got there. And
we're in Sourceville, New Jersey, which is about 5 miles from Pennsylvania. You can basically see Pennsylvania from the shop. So we are in New Jersey, but it's the western forgotten kind of corner of it. Pretty rural area. We're on an old Highway 57, which is actually partly built by Thomas Edison in a cement project that he had going on. So kind of a cool location. Not an industrial park, not even close. I mean, we're surrounded by a town park. That's an old lock system for an old canal. And from there, there's actually a bunch of hiking trails. So it's kind of a cool spot. Not what most people kind of have in mind when they think of New Jersey.
We went there, I guess the first time you came, or we came up to OK Four Wheel Drive was when we were building the 4Runner, right?
No, the first time I went to 4-wheel drive was when they were having Truck Fest.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was the first time that I went up there and took the truck, and it was a good time, man. Because you guys have that you guys have that every year usually, and it's usually a big success. And around what time do you guys usually have it?
About middle October.
October. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good time.
30 years.
Yeah, it's a pretty impressive shop. As a lot of you guys know, I started my own business here in New England, and definitely it's given me inspiration, to say the least. Their shop is absolutely beautiful, and like Ren said, it's not your typical or what we would think of as typical New Jersey. It's really rural with some like beautiful rolling hills, like really awesome scenery. The shop itself is pretty impressive. The showroom area you see behind them is pretty awesome with all the glass. And then, if I'm not mistaken, it's a LEED certified building, right, Bryn?
It's not. We didn't go through all the paperwork for that, but we probably could. Pretty much net zero when it comes to electric.
Yeah, it's a pretty impressive place to step foot in. There's no doubt about that.
It was a pretty powerful discovery for me that you guys are producing what it was like 110 or 120% of your energy needs, or what?
When we put the solar in, you had to be 100% of the energy that you were using. But then we put the solar in, and then we went more efficient with all LED lighting and everything else inside. So it is about 110%. Yeah, but we've grown a little bit, so now we're back to about 100%.
Very few, if any, other auto service shops have ever taken something like that on. Are you aware of anybody else that's done that too, or?
Not that I'm aware of. No, it's not too common in the automotive industry. We were blessed by having a building that was situated very conveniently, accidentally, for solar. And I never thought of that originally when I built it. When I built it in '88, they didn't even have solar panels at that time for buildings like this. So, but our roof is sloped facing the south, and it just worked out perfect for us. So then when we put the addition on, we just added to that and built a canopy out the back over our loading dock to give us a little bit more solar capacity. And I've always been, trying to take care of the environment because we use it so much. I'm into hunting, fishing, camping. So, whatever we can do to keep, everything clean and neat and nice and conserve, we're all for that. Recyclability with everything that we do, we try to always recycle, do as little waste as possible. So kind of being raised on a farm, you do that on a farm. So it kind of, carried naturally into this business too.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive visiting OK four-wheel drive. It's I think one of my favorite things is you pretty much have an answer for any question that you could have. I could go there and I've brought plenty of things up, and it's just like, oh, this is happening. This is why that's happening, and the problem solved very quickly. But basically, in a sense of product knowledge and things like that, it's just there's a slew of knowledge that is just far beyond that of it would take way longer and be way more difficult to do any of the research you need to do on the internet to find that kind of information.
The family factor there, and the feel and the vibe of the people that work there. You kind of get the sense that everybody really thoroughly enjoys being there, and they're not just employees. They feel like they're part of a family, and that's very evident every time we come there. All of the people that are, the sales team that are working, or the mechanics, we're out there visiting with them and talking to them, and it's just such a welcoming vibe when we come there. It's pretty awesome stuff.
We're sitting there working, and there's just people walking around, like asking Ring questions, asking Jim questions, and you definitely get the feeling that everybody knows what they're talking about there, and that's what I enjoy is when we get work done over there. Like, you have absolutely 100% guarantee that it's going to be done right because the expertise is in the shop. So
talking about building trucks, I don't even know if you guys could do a quick tally in a couple of days to identify how many different trucks you built, much less serviced, right?
No.
I think the coolest part is the diversity. Like, there's never an identical vehicle in the next bay to it. Like, right now, there's a Raptor getting an electrical job with a lithium-ion battery setup. There's a Sprinter van that we're working on, developing some parts. Last week, we were working on a CJ3, so there's just a lot of cool. Nothing is like new cookie cutter. It's just anything functional four-wheel drive.
If I go back to the beginning, we did we built our UPS driver would bring parts to us for this Jeep I was redoing that people first saw when we started. Then he had a brand new Ford that he had just bought, and he wanted us to lift it. So we lifted that Ford. It was 1980 F-150. They went from a 100 to a 150, I think, that year. We built that for him, and he took it down to the Jersey Shore. I think it was a Memorial Day or a Labor Day weekend. I know it was a holiday weekend. And he took a bunch of our cards, and my phone was ringing off the hook after that. So that really kicked in the four-wheel drive opportunity for us. And then fast forward about 6 years later, we had a guy come in, a Mideastern guy that was actually from Kuwait. And I'll never forget him, real big guy. He came in and he wanted us to build a truck that looked like Bigfoot, is what he said, in very broken English. So we built it. He brought a brand new Ford to us that he bought at the dealer, and he wanted to send this truck to Kuwait for some oil sheik over there. So the guy, he was the broker of this whole deal, so we had to build this truck for him. And it was kind of funny. We built this truck, and he drove it away. And he had two sons with him, and they could barely even get into the truck when we were done. And then soon after that, the Gulf War began, and we would always watch the news looking for that Ford to see if we saw it over there. We didn't even know what Kuwait was. We were in our 20s and didn't even, you never heard about anything over in that area at that time. Uh-huh. So that really propelled, the business. People would see that rig that we built and then come in, and it just snowballed from there into moving up here. And then up here, there's numerous builds that we've done here.
In more recent years, Ren, you guys have kind of dove into parts and supplies for, this overlanding lifestyle that's had, its uptick over the last, whatever, 10 years or so here in the U.S. with lots of new innovation, lots of new products. What was the drive, I guess, other than, just maybe seeing some stuff popping up on social media? What was the drive to kind of go and open the doors up to overlanding and camping there in the shop?
We have always kind of camped more crudely than we do now. And we've always had like functional stuff, like never the biggest, baddest, usually small, kind of cobbled together. I mean, shoemaker has no shoes. So what we've kind of always been doing, this is like camping, off-roading on the weekends, is now cool and it's in trend. So we found a European brand of products that we were introduced to, and then also a South African brand, and just kind of started importing them back in 2013, about. Yeah. So kind of before the craze caught on here, with just kind of seeing how the rest of the world was using these products. And at first, people thought it was kind of nuts. I don't think most people knew what they were. Ski carriers, hot tubs, anything you can imagine. People asked what was on the roof, and
barbecue.
Yeah. And now it's people. I mean, camping is becoming cooler in the U.S., and not just in a backpacking way, but in a car supported, vehicle supported adventure travel has gotten huge. And we're lucky enough to work with some awesome companies. I mean, AluCab, this is their 20th year of, creating products, and they've really created some of the industry standards, I would say, and what most of the industry has now become.
My roots are similar to Rin and Jim, is where I've, been into, off-roading and camping for, 20 years. It started with my first, 1981 Land Cruiser, and I just, ground camped, and that was it. And then over the years, we've seen all these, we've seen some products kind of come over to the U.S. that have been tried and true over in, Europe and South Africa and Australia. And, the term overlanding sort of started to pop up, which is, I think the definition of it has been, debated back and forth a little bit. But it's an exciting time right now because, 10 years ago, your option for a rooftop tent was just, 1 or 2, 3 suppliers. Quality was, varied. But within, the last 10 years, we have all these really awesome companies that are starting to, ship product into the U.S., just like, for example, AluCab. It's exciting. It's a really exciting time to be in the U.S. and into overlanding. There is a lot of, when innovation happens, there's a lot of, fluff that happens, I think, sort of like around, the center core of innovation. So I think, there is some products that are starting to flush the market that aren't amazing. And that's why I think it's really important to really hone in on who's the expert and who has credibility in the industry, and really listen to what they're saying and what they've used, what they've put through the ringer, and listen to those guys, and that's you'll end up with a good product.
How do you seek out and find these brands that you want to sell in your shop, or do you sell everything that's available for four-wheel drive? Or do you focus your efforts and hone in your efforts on, different things? How do you make that decision to do that?
Basically, would we buy it? And would we use it? Like, I would say 80% of the things we sell are on our own trucks. And it's not freebies or handouts. It's stuff that we're using that's not sitting in a warehouse for shows. It's being used as a daily driver. Like my green Jeep before this, and now my Chevy. Like, we use it, know it, get our hands on it, work with the manufacturers to dial it in, and then, promote that to our customers. We're not telling them to buy something that we know about as much as they do. Like, we try to focus in stuff that we would actually own and experience and then promote.
Yeah. we've always kept our eyes open to the industry. Always searching, looking. What's coming out next? What new vendors are out there? And we've helped a lot of the names that are quite big now, like ARB. We installed the first air locker in the USA in our store. AEV, we're involved with them right out of the gate, just by going to the SEMA show and meeting Dave Harrington and getting to know him. We're always searching for product, and our staff is trained that way too. There's Rin and I, but to back us up, we have 30 other people that are just phenomenal. If you combine the years of experience, there's about 400 years of four-wheel drive experience in this building. So having all those eyes and ears out there too, using the stuff and knowing, what's out there really helps us find these vendors throughout the world.
No, absolutely. And I mean, I can attest to the vendor statement. I mean, you guys essentially built my entire truck, and I'm not easy on it. I'm rough on it, but I know, and everybody knows I'm rough on it, Ren especially. But but I know that when I go out, like, everything's done to spec, everything's done correctly. So that's just one less worry, that I have when I'm out, on the road. So it's just a good peace of mind to have when you are using good vendors, you are using, people that know what they're doing and everything. It definitely speaks for itself. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, we built your 4Runner. We kind of rebuilt our 2013 Tacoma. Then we built a 2017 Tacoma. We built Ben's Land Rover. And we're going to build something else here soon too. And I
do we want to say what we're going to build yet, or are we not saying that?
No, not yet. Not quite yet. I'm working on it right now. I'm actually self-quarantining and doing all electrical and filming it all here in the garage. But yeah, I mean, friends of ours, or followers and stuff, they'll message us and ask, why would I buy something at OK 4-wheel drive, or hey, I want to get a lift kit for my truck, or I want to do this. And I don't just pass the buck, but if I can answer the question, I can answer it. But if it's something I'm not familiar with, well, then I'm just going to refer them to the team up there at OK 4-wheel drive, because I know that they've built a lot of interesting vehicles. I think one of the funnest things about going to OK 4-wheel drive is we'll say, hey, and high fives and just shoot the shit for a few minutes. And then we just go straight back to the garage because we want to see what they're working on.
My favorite thing, actually, it's one of my favorite things I've ever seen, is I walked into the garage at OK 4-wheel drive one time, and there was a lifted excursion limousine, like limousine interior, like with the limo seats, and I think it was on 40s. The thing was absurd. It was the coolest, most ridiculous truck I've ever seen.
So that's what we should think about taking to the Gambler 500 if we do that.
You have an interesting 4-wheel drive community out of New York City. It's
and Philly.
Yeah. It's yeah.
we get to fix a lot of them.
Anything that is a 40-inch tire should not be a 5-on-5 bolt pattern usually.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like I said. I mean, just in this short little conversation we've had, I mean, that adds more to the experience of being there, because you're just like, what are they working on now? And you even said something about sprinters. So sprinters, we talk about the progression of camp life, right? And as we graduate to new vehicles, well, sprinters are looking more attractive. And are you toying with that? Are you working on some sprinters then? Is that what you were saying?
Yeah. I bought a Sprinter. I've never had a van, so trying to make my wife happy with a 4-wheel drive for her. That makes her happy. So she said, "I'll go anywhere that you want to go off-roading as long as you give me a shower and a toilet." So we got a Sprinter, which is going to have a shower and a toilet and a kitchen and beds. And I did a lot of research. I've been, watching the van community grow. It's so cool how you can buy 4-wheel drive vans now, right from the factory. So I bought one. Rin's been helping me, and this has been quite a project, and it's really coming together cool. So you'll get to see this thing soon. It's going to be pretty different, pretty neat.
Putting an off-road, like what we know from doing off-road campers, into a van. So no self-tapping screws, no plywood. We're building everything out of aluminum extrusion and kind of going over and above with it. So it's been fun because it's not something we're used to. As far as a camper, it's quadruple the size of anything I'm used to working with. So it's been fun to kind of design from scratch and just put concept into reality with it.
I'm building a van, a 4-wheel drive van at some point in the next couple of years. There's no question about it. With my family, I have 3 kids, big dog. I think we're going to adopt another dog, during this lockdown. And, we've come to the realization that, we camp and we go do adventures, but it ends up being that we have to, I have 2 fully built Tacomas, and we end up driving 2 vehicles. So, to sort of, to house all 5 plus the dog and everything. So no, vans are on my radar, for sure. There's no question about it. I'm really looking forward to be able to build a van that we can house all 5 of us, like pull up to a ski slope, in Vermont somewhere, camp out and get first runs the next day. So it's something I'm looking at very, very closely right now.
I can't say that in the next maybe 10 or 15 years, I'd probably be doing the same thing here. I mean, some of the trucks that we've built, is enough. When you throw dogs into the equation, it might as well be another able body. So it's a little bit tough. And, Tacomas and Jeeps and 4Runners and stuff like that to bring the whole family, quote unquote. But to get ourselves in a position where we could bring the whole family and all the animals with us, I think that'd be something we'll be looking at too. Yeah, no, it's been great having you guys on Adventure Talk. I really appreciate you taking the time to join us. It's been kind of interesting times with this pandemic, and we will be adjusting business on how we do things. And I know for a fact that people will still be coming to OK 4-wheel drive for all their service and parts needs. Gabby, Ben, John, you guys got anything else to add?
No, I just think my last comment is I'm looking forward to, things lightening up and getting back out there. I miss the woods.
I think we're all hungry for that. I mean, I think the whole industry is, whether you're in the overlanding sector or the 4-wheel drive, sector, and we'll get there. But, doing things like this keeps us ready and raring to go. And we appreciate everybody being here tonight. On behalf of OK 4-wheel drive, Midland USA, and Bill Stein, this has been another Adventure Talk. Thanks for joining, guys.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
I just need a little help, mama. Just to get me through. Need a little bit of help, mama. That's why I'm calling on you. And you call me baby, and it cuts me too.